Today, we're diving deep into a critical, life-saving medical procedure. We're talking about how to handle one of the most dangerous complications of pregnancy, and we're going to break down step by step how to correctly administer magnesium sulfate when lives are literally on the line. So first, let's set the stage. What exactly is this crisis? Well, it all starts with preeclampsia, which is basically dangerously high blood pressure that shows up during pregnancy. Now, when that blood pressure really spikes with a systolic reading over 160, it becomes severe preeclampsia. And if that's not controlled, it can lead to eclampsia, and that means life-threatening convulsions. This is the emergency we are trying to stop in its tracks. So in this incredibly high-stakes situation, what's the go-to? What do medical professionals all around the globe turn to? Well, the World Health Organization has a very, very clear recommendation. And that solution is magnesium sulfate, or as you'll often hear it called, MgSO4. This is the drug we're going to be focusing on. It's the key player in managing severe preeclampsia and preventing those devastating seizures of eclampsia. You know, magnesium sulfate isn't some one-trick pony. It actually works on multiple fronts at the same time. It's an anticonvulsant, which directly stops seizures from happening. It's also an antihypertensive, so it helps to bring that dangerous blood pressure down. On top of all that, it actually improves blood flow to the brain and even stops platelets from clumping together. It's a real multi-pronged defense. But, and this is a big but, as powerful as this drug is, it's not for every single patient. You have to be incredibly cautious if your patient has impaired kidney function, any kind of heart damage or heart block, or a condition called myasthenia gravis, because the drug can seriously mess with nerve and muscle communication. Okay, so before you even think about administering a single drop of this drug, there's a non-negotiable checklist. This whole pre-administration phase is all about being prepared and being safe. It's about laying the groundwork for a successful procedure. You've got to have everything ready and within arm's reach. We're talking about your IV solution, a working IV line, syringes, the magnesium sulfate itself, a urinary catheter so you can monitor output, and an infusion pump for precise control. And here's the most critical part. You must have calcium gluconate on hand. That's the antidote for an overdose, and you absolutely cannot begin without it. And this brings us to the patient safety checks. Think of these as hard stops. If you don't meet these criteria, you don't proceed. The respiratory rate must be above 16 breaths per minute. Deep tendon reflexes must be present, and urine output needs to be at least 30 milliliters an hour. If any of these are not met, you cannot start the infusion, period. Okay, all our safety checks are passed, everything's in place, and we are now ready to actually administer the treatment. There are a couple of established ways to do this, so let's look at the specifics. You'll generally see two main protocols out there. There's the Pritchard regime, which uses both an IV dose and a deep intramuscular injection. But for our purposes, we're going to focus on the Zuspan or Sibai regimen, which is fully intravenous and really widely used. It's got two parts, a loading dose and then a continuous maintenance dose. So the first and most crucial part is that loading dose. This is the initial, bigger dose that's designed to get the magnesium levels up in the bloodstream quickly to a therapeutic level. And we're talking about a very specific amount here, 4 to 6 grams. And the timing here is absolutely critical. You don't just push this dose in all at once. Nope. It's administered slowly through that IV infusion over a period of 15 to 20 minutes. This slow, controlled rate is essential for the patient's safety. Now, after that loading dose is complete, we don't just stop. The patient is immediately moved onto a continuous maintenance infusion. The rate here is much, much lower, just a steady drip of 1 to 2 grams per hour. The whole point is to keep those magnesium levels stable. Once that infusion starts, believe me, the work has just begun. The most important phase now is constant, vigilant monitoring. This drug has what we call a narrow therapeutic window, which means the line between being effective and being toxic is incredibly thin. It's really important to know what's normal so you can spot what's not. Patients will almost always report feeling very warm, almost like a hot flash. Some facial flushing, maybe some nausea, a little muscle weakness, and even blurred vision are all common, expected side effects. These are not signs of toxicity. But this is what you're watching for like a hawk. This table is so important. Toxicity follows a very clear pattern. First, at a serum level of about 8 to 10, the deep tendon reflexes will disappear. If those levels keep rising to between 10 and 15, the patient's breathing will slow down to a dangerous rate, less than 12 breaths a minute. And if it gets above 15, you're risking severe cardiac depression.
Seeing any of those signs of toxicity is a full-blown emergency. The situation is getting worse by the second, and you have to act immediately. So what is your first move? What do you do?
Here it is. It's the antidote we prepared earlier. Calcium Gluconate. Remember, the dose is exactly 1 gram, given intravenously. And just like the magnesium, it has to be given slowly, over about 10 minutes, to counteract those toxic effects. Let's walk through the emergency protocol step by step. Number 1, stop the magnesium sulfate infusion immediately. That's the first thing. 2, administer the calcium gluconate antidote. 3, turn the mother onto her left side to improve blood flow to the baby. 4, give oxygen. And 5, start a plain IV solution to help flush the system. And the vigilance doesn't stop once the treatment is over. Continuous observation is key. Every single dose, the time it was given, and the patient's reaction, all of it must be meticulously recorded and reported. Good documentation and communication are just as critical as the drug itself. From those pre-administration safety checks to the infusion rates and the subtle signs of toxicity, every single detail in this procedure matters. Knowing precisely what to look for and exactly what to do when you see it can be the difference between a crisis that's managed and a tragedy.